What's up, guys? Welcome to another MarbleCast. Today we have special guest Coach Mike Carroll, one of our coaches here at Dark Athletics and Marble Weightlifting. Now, Coach Mike is a national level coach and has been working with USA Weightlifting on their coaching certifications and has been coaching for 20 years. So we're excited to get into his background a little bit. We hope you enjoy this episode. Let's check it out. All right, we got Coach Mike here in the hot seat on the MarbleCast. Coach Mike, welcome.
Joe, good to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, dude. So the number one question I get is, what's Coach Mike's deal? Where's he from? What the hell? Where's he been? So we're gonna get some background on you and where you've been, how you got started in weightlifting, and all that, and what your career has been like. So how did you get started with weightlifting?
It goes back to right out of high school, going into college. I was a wrestler and needed to strengthen for the college level. And so I just started with the strength work, squats, pulls, presses, and just continued to develop from there. So,
how long did you wrestle? All high school, or just did you start late?
Yeah, no, I wrestled through high school and went to Maryland, University of Maryland, for my college career, which ended short after a motorcycle accident after my freshman year. So,
was it your fault, or was it raining? What happened with that?
No, I made a left turn. Car came through a light and crushed my leg, and
lucky that's all it did.
Yeah. So then it became about rehab. I had to get back to being like I was before, and as a result, I really dug in and ramped up the training to kind of recover. And I got rods put in the lower leg and the upper leg, so femur and tibia.
Yeah, so if you ever see Coach Mike squatting, he shifts all the way to your right side, and it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. So, but it was the best I could do at the time, and so I just kept at it. And then, I did all that on my own.
Were you wrestling in college?
Yeah.
What weight class?
So I was a 51-pounder.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
51? 151. 151, yeah.
Right.
Light.
So, yeah. And so, then it all became about rehab. And at that point, I just started going to a gym and met up with some guys that were power lifters. And they said, you're doing what we're doing, so why don't you just come train with us? And so they got me involved in powerlifting. And I trained with them. We did a training cycle for a meet. And they said, let's get you entered in the meet. And I thought, I don't need to do a meet, so I'm just going to do the training cycle with them and, max out at the end. But there's no way I'm going to get on a platform and compete.
This is for powerlifting.
Yeah. And then I ended up getting involved and went to the meet and liked it. And then from there, just kept training and competing. So that's how it started. And then slowly I just got more and more involved, and then kind of got into the strength and conditioning aspect of it. So I moved out to Utah in '98 and got involved with a college strength coach, and he kind of put me towards strength and conditioning as something I might want to pursue. So I ended up opening a strength and conditioning gym with a friend of mine who had a ski team, and had always done the power snatch and the power clean as part of my training, just because of the transfer to strength. And so it just evolved from there. And then I came across Bigger, Faster, Stronger, who actually happens to be based in Salt Lake City. and they came to me and said, would you consider using your gym for us to start a weightlifting team? They want to start a junior weightlifting team.
So paint me a picture of what your gym looked like. Like, was it just similar to what we have here, just like a open space with some squat racks? What did you have?
So we had it designed. It was we had 4 platforms that were geared for sports performance versus actual competition or weightlifting specific. So they were, rubber platforms, metal frame, and we had 4 power racks, full-size power racks. It looked more like you would see in a university or college strength weight room.
Okay, I got you.
So
So like those platforms with like the little ramp.
Yep.
Where they have that the shiny wood in the middle.
Yep.
And it extends out past the power rack. Okay.
Right. And then, we had a sprint area in there where you could work on sprint starts and, all the toys for improving sports performance, vert jump mats and, all that stuff. So did a lot of agility work with the athletes we worked with and depending on the sport that they were involved in. But anyway, we ended up, starting this weightlifting team with BFS, and I had gotten my coaching certification, my level 1 USAW coaching certification, and so we just started the program with the expectation of building on numbers. That was his theory. The BFS program was going to just build on numbers.
What is the marketing strategy back then when there's no CrossFit, there's no social media? Like, how do you get the word out?
Well, there was a couple things that we had going for us. That my business partner was a ski coach. So we had mogul skiers that we were training along with some other athletes. And it took a little while to build up the base, but once we had those athletes coming in regularly, word of mouth, and then it spreads from there. So
nice. This was the first gym you opened. So you opened a second gym later on.
Yeah.
So you guys started into weightlifting. You started building the team. How many athletes did you have on the team when you started with BFS?
So what BFS did, and was really smart on their part, and part of it is because this is how this is their business model, is that they go into schools and they put on the BFS program. And so you're basically working with the entire school's athletes from all different walks, right? All sports. And so what we did was we went into a local school, and spent the day working with each gym class. Went in with PVC pipes, taught them the movements, and then started to isolate the kids that showed potential, whether it be from a skill standpoint or the fast twitch muscle fiber model, where you could tell that they were explosive or fast athletes, right?
So what'd you make them do, like squat jumps or box jumps?
Vertical jumps, and then working with PVC pipe. If they could demonstrate that they had the motor pattern down or could pick it up from just the instruction of 45-minute gym class, then we knew here's a kid that has the potential, and that was boys and girls. And we ended up with inviting them down to the gym to go through a workout. And for those that were interested, then they would start on a 3-day-a-week program. And, again, it was all with PVC pipes, just getting them through the different movement patterns and just trying to get them to understand what was going on. And it was basic, but we ended up with 70 kids on that first workout, and we had to rotate them through. And then once we had that, kids that liked it came back. We ended up with 30 after 2 weeks. So 6 workouts, we ended up with 30 kids that wanted to be a part of the team.
That's awesome, man.
So, yeah, and that really got the ball rolling. So, and that's what it takes, is just exposing kids to the potential for it. And the way we can do that is by just getting in front of them, showing them what it is, right? We did a little video demonstration. Here's what a snatch looks like. Here's what a clean and jerk looks like. Here's what it does, and you get the kids to buy in, get interested, and then there you go.
I can't break into that market. I've emailed a bunch of people, as I know we've talked about it.
Yep.
Nobody gets back to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It is the biggest challenge. But, here's the thing. I think if we can market it to the right people in the right way, that they'll buy in a little bit more. And part of the challenge that we have is that we're more of an obscure sport.
Yeah.
And we are up against the fact that they're already doing other sports, and they only have so much time.
Right.
And if we, don't have something that we can offer them that benefits them in a way that they think this is something we need to do, i.e., injury prevention, right? Development for sports performance that carries over to the field or the court or whatever it may be. And the fact that, if they perform well, there's potential for possibly going to the Olympics.
Well, any way this is going to help any sport, right? Because this is still weightlifting. And in order to get better at football, soccer, tennis, whatever, you have to be strong. So this is going to benefit any athlete at any sport. My opinion, your opinion probably as well. So I think explaining that to people is a little bit easier, but the problem that I always run into is that a lot of parents just don't want their kids to lift weights, and they think that we're just going to throw heavy weights at them from the start, which is not the case. And then they're worried that they're going to get injured, they're going to stunt their growth with something, and you know what? Anything can go wrong with anybody at any point, regardless of whether you're strength and conditioning with weight or without, or if you're just playing football. You can go and twist your ankle on the football field, right? Like,
absolutely.
How do you prevent that injury is by being strong in the weight room and getting out there and then performing. So that's the hard thing about getting in front of kids here, is that I have that issue of the education on the parents is just not there yet.
Right, and that's the key, and that's where I think that if it's presented right, that not only is it safe as a sport, but it's also going to make them more resilient to the other sports that they play, right? Because one of the benefits of weightlifting, snatch, and clean and jerk is that you're thickening the tendons and ligaments by way of the loading. While moving quickly, and that is going to strengthen the joint areas that would be susceptible, right? So when it comes to injury prevention, weightlifting in and of itself is going to make athletes more resilient to whatever sport it is that they play. So it's actually something that if they understood this, if parents understood this, that they would be more willing to allow their kids to spend the time with it, because it's going to make them less susceptible to injury and safer on the field or the court or whatever it might be.
Whatever they're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're coaching 30 athletes in weightlifting and to be strong. Where do you go from there with this gym?
So we were doing the junior weightlifting team.
This is the early 2000s, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were doing the weightlifting with the junior team while also coaching our skiing athletes and our winter Olympic athletes. As well as some football players for pro days. And it got to a point where it was too difficult to maintain everything with everything else that was going on at the time, so we ended up closing the gym. And then what happened was I got an opportunity to start a weightlifting team, specific gym only, weightlifting only, and so wanted to see if we could make that work. And so that was a slow build.
What was the initial investment for the weightlifting gym?
The initial investment was probably 10 grand.
That's not bad, man. That's like 8% of what we started with here.
Yeah. It was small, and we had 5 platforms, but that's all there was.
Yeah.
We had some squat stands, obviously the bars and the plates, and that was pretty much it.
Warehouse setting?
Yep.
Like a small...
Yep. It was 2,500 square feet.
No, so like a little more than half the size of this.
Yeah. So, and it was just platforms.
Yeah.
And, we had some plyo boxes, and that was it. And that's all you really need to get started. So.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of space, especially for weightlifting. Like CrossFit, we need a little bit more space because we're running around doing different stuff.
Right.
But with weightlifting, listen, you're standing in one place.
That's
you
it.
Got 8x8 platform with a barbell, you're good to go.
That's it. You can do your mobility, your stretching. It's all done in the same area, right? And then when you're using, squat stands, it's all done in the same area. Yeah. And when you're not using them, put them to the side.
How did you structure your classes?
So the way I ran it was workouts were either in the morning or from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock, essentially, in the evening.
Was it just like open hours,
Yep.
so people just came in?
Kids coming in after school, people getting off of work at 5, typical schedule. They'd come in, get their workouts in, and that would be it. So it was people come in, and then just like CrossFit, you start to become friends with the people that you're training with, and so you tend to show up at the same times that your friends are training, and it just worked out well.
Yeah. It's hard to build the structure. Like the way I have it, it's basically we're open all day. So I'm here all day, and I'll work with you as long as I'm not coaching CrossFit or I'm doing anything in the office. But it's not as structured as I want it to be like CrossFit. Like, so my CrossFit classes, I have 6, 7, 8, 9:30. 8 people come in at 6, 8 people come in at 7, whatever. And you do the warm-up, you do your skill, strength, and then condition. I want to do that with weightlifting, but it's never worked out for me because they all have different schedules. They just want to come in and lift. And is it essential that we all warm up and work out together as a unit? Sometimes I think it is, and that's why I like the Saturdays where everybody kind of gets here around 9:30 and then everybody's lifting. Those big sessions are really important. But during the week, it's just somewhat chaotic, and then everybody's left alone. And I feel like I'm not doing my job if I'm not sitting there next to them, working with them. And then I get sort of lost in like, how do I fix this? But I can't figure out how to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Part of the problem with weightlifting is that everybody's different.
Yeah.
And everybody has a different routine and a different way about doing things. And so it's hard to kind of make it too structured.
Yeah.
And in all of the weightlifting weight rooms that I've been in, it's always been that people just come in when, based on their schedule.
Yeah.
And, some people take 2.5 hours. Other people can be done in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And, it just depends on their pace and their approach to things. Some people like more rest between their sets. Some people can get away with less. And so it really is, it's more of an individual kind of program versus a CrossFit style group type of training. So
yeah, it's more like general fitness versus structured teamwork. So a lot of times I'll want at least 2 sessions with the team where we all work out together, and this way we can have like big lifts either on a Wednesday and a Saturday or whatever. Just the rest of the week is just we're working on stuff in order to hit those lifts on Wednesday or Saturday. That's how I really want to do it. And it's the problem I have here is that everything's open space, so there's just too many distractions. And that kind of gets to me every once in a while. But so then if we ever move, I want a separation between weightlifting and CrossFit. This way there's that or there's that. And there's not like, oh, what's going on over here? We could stray. I think the focus will be a lot better.
Right.
So that's what I want to do. If we ever move, I'm trying to move. I'm trying to find a new space, but it's very difficult.
It is, especially right now.
Yeah.
So
everybody I email tells me, yeah, we don't got anything.
Really?
Well, it's fun. So when you're training athletes, you're training youth athletes, you're training senior athletes, you're training masters athletes, do you have a different philosophy for each group based on experience or just based on age? Or what are your sort of philosophies with different athletes?
Yeah, obviously they're all individuals first and foremost, and then obviously the category that they fall into will determine how you are going to approach their training. And obviously if you've got a master's lifter, your volume is going to be lower due to reduced recovery ability, versus a junior lifter who has a very high recovery ability. So obviously you would manipulate your volume, your intensity, and the number of workouts that they might do in a given week. It's really important to monitor them as far as how they're responding and make sure that they're not being pushed too much, or conversely, not giving them enough stimulus. So it's important to really make sure that you are in touch with them individually and not just programming based on a specific model. So and then the other thing is that you always want to tailor workouts based on weaknesses and strengths, and make sure that you're training the weaknesses for a given individual.
What do you think the programming, what's your philosophy on being a more rigid program with percentage based or based on feel for the day? So like, I prefer to work by feel. I don't like working from percentages because sometimes the percentages are either too heavy or too light, and I get thrown off by that. And then if I miss the percentage that's written on there, it makes me even more upset, and then I don't want to play.
I agree with you. I agree with you quite a bit, because every day is different for an individual. Some days they're strong, some days they're on neurologically, and you want to take advantage of those days. And then conversely, if you have things are not going the way they would be as far as all the things that people need to be doing for recovery, then they come in and they're not really dialed in. To have them work to 90% for that day because that's what was programmed is probably not going to go well.
Yeah.
And it's all about stringing together successful workouts, being consistent, and taking advantage of the recovery ability of your athletes. So you're exactly right. And I think that, interestingly enough, the old-time lifters, that's how they used to train. It was all by feel. If you were feeling good that day, take advantage of it and push yourself. If it wasn't going well, if you didn't get enough sleep the night before, it's more of a technique day. And I think that especially with everything being so structured these days, it's hard to get them to train that way. They want to have a specific goal in mind and then train to that goal, whether it's high or low. And getting them to go by feel is a little bit of a challenge for a lot of the athletes that you come across. So but the advantage, I think, is you're going to get more out of training by feel than being so structured with percentages.
How long do you think it takes athletes to figure that out? Like how to know when to stop and when to push it?
Sometimes they never figure it out. But I think the buy-in takes place when they see the difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it's hard because they need to have a plan when they go into the weight room, right? And so you have to give them something. But it's a fun time when you're scheduled to hit 85% for the day, and things go well, and you end up PRing on a day that was supposed to be moderate intensity.
Yeah, just a random Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what makes it fun and interesting at the same time. So.
Yeah, I've always felt better training by feel, because I had those rigid programs and it would just make me crazy. And then the coach I had when I started, or kind of when I started, he would program stuff, and like some days it just wasn't there. And then when I would leave there and go anywhere else, I would just do what I wanted, relaxed, and it went fine. Or it didn't, and I stopped, and I was also fine. But like, it's just learning when to push and when to scale back is a unique skill that you need within weightlifting. So weightlifting is not like powerlifting with squat, bench, and deadlift. You can sort of grind out reps with that. In the snatch, if it's either there or it's not there, maybe there's a technical flaw in there, but it's more than likely you either have the strength and the energy for the day, or you do not, and you have to know when you do not have it and when it's not there.
That's exactly right. And I think that, to your point, when things are structured, you sometimes, for example, I had an athlete that was a little bit OCD. And she would look at the workout, and then she had to complete the workout as it was written.
Yeah.
And if she didn't, it would ruin her whole day.
Yeah.
And, instead of just being able to adjust on the fly and say, okay, all right, maybe we won't hit this number for today. We'll back off and we'll do 80% of that, or whatever the case may be. She would beat her head against the wall trying to complete the lifts based on the program for that particular day. And, it would really wreck her for either a day or sometimes even longer. She'd be so frustrated that she didn't complete what was put in front of her for that particular workout. And so, sometimes it's hard to get these guys to understand that it's really, every day is different.
Yeah.
In fact, the old timers used to test themselves neurologically. They would take a sheet of paper and a pencil, and they would tap on it for a few seconds, and depending on the number of marks that they made on the paper with the pencil, they could tell whether the central nervous system was fresh or it was not fresh based on how many marks were made within a certain time frame. And it's just an easy, simple test to see. I forget the specifics of it, but you could do that every day, and you could tell whether the central nervous system was ready and it was fresh, or if the training had been taking a toll and you needed to back off and go a little easier.
So like the more marks on the paper, the more you were ready?
Yep. So and it was just real quick. Just tap it and count the number of marks, and then you had a reference based on what the time frame was and what a good day was and what a not good day was. So it was a very simple, easy test to tell whether your central nervous system was ready or not. That'd
be interesting. You see people getting like 50 one day and they snatch a PR, and then they get 50 another day and they fail miserably at 60%.
Yeah, that would really be something. But
that's something I would do.
The other thing is that you can tell sometimes when you waking up in the morning. Some athletes tend to take their resting heart rate, and if your resting heart rate is higher than it should be as far as your normal resting heart rate, you can tell that it's a signal that the central nervous system is probably not where it should be for a good day of training, and so you might want to adjust your training based on that.
What would you be looking for in a resting heart rate?
As a non-endurance athlete?
Yeah.
I would say that, if you're in the 60 to 70 range, you're probably okay. So anything more than that probably is a sign that we're not good.
I've been every once in a while I'll check my resting heart rate as soon as I wake up. It's like in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I attribute that to all the coffee I drink. But
yeah, it's very possible.
Who knows? Maybe my heart's just ready to explode. So we'll only have a few more podcasts left, guys. We'll see. Mike, do you listen to our podcast?
I do.
Woo! Oh, so you know how bad I am at this. Perfect. I myself am an ego lifter, and it's more like do as I say, not as I do. But I try to explain that as we're writing programs, there's flexibility within that window. So, like, I'll put a squat 4x4 on there, but I don't necessarily want them to take the percentage off their super max squat, because that super max squat probably wasn't your best squat. It was just you managed to get it up that day. So every once in a while they forget about it, and I forget to write it in the program, and then they do these squat percentages at 85%, and they're super heavy, grindy reps, and then we all have to get yelled at. They yell at me, I yell back. It is what it is. So, when you write programs, we don't know how the athlete's going to feel that day. We're just giving a structured outline. And if we're not there, this is what you should do. Try to get as close to it as possible. And if we are in front of the athlete, then we'll be able to manage that a little better. But for them to understand that you're writing a program based on an idea of how this should go, more than this is exactly what you need to be doing, I'm very strict about this. It's never worked that way for me, and that's kind of how you operate as well.
Yes.
So
yep. No, it's it's one of those things that I think that one rep maxes can vary, just like we were talking about with individuals, and whether they're on that day or not. And so you're better off working off a 90% of a true one rep max, because that one rep max may have been a one-shot deal, and to your point, they just grinded it out or whatever the case may be. But you want to base your one rep maxes off of something that they can do consistently, right?
Yeah.
And so 90% or 95%, depending on how you want to look at it, is probably the better approach for your training consistency, which is really what it comes down to, right? Skill is all about being consistent. And you want your lifts and your movements to look exactly the same from your lightest weight to your top weight. And the more we can do that, then everything that they do moving forward is going to be more in that same line and same movement pattern. And that's the key. And that's where it really will develop for you. So using true maxes or, one-time one rep max is not necessarily your best way to develop your skill levels if we're trying to develop an athlete.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely hard to get everybody to understand that. But what is your favorite like sweet spot as far as consistency goes, where you want to continuously work in what percentage range?
I think it's 80 to 85.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a matter of building up the volume in that range. And then the more consistent they can do that, then when they need to, because they've developed the consistency in that range, even with the higher reps, then you can trust that when they have to push, it's going to stay within that range, within that movement pattern, even when they're going all out.
Yeah. So you see our athletes here, and you see what the program that I sort of run here. What exercises do you think I'm lacking for certain people?
I'll tell you, I think the biggest challenge for lifters is, or the biggest weakness for a lot of lifters is posterior chain. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is that when you analyze the pull, the loading is placed on the posterior chain throughout the pull. And squat strength is developed easily by way of doing full lifts, right? Every time we recover, it's a squat. But we tend to neglect the posterior chain when it comes to the actual pull. And the stronger the posterior chain is, the more efficient we can go through the pull. The less deviation you'll have once that motor pattern's been developed, if there's plenty of strength available for the movement. So I have in some cases, gone 2-to-1 ratio of posterior chain work, good mornings, RDLs, to squats in order to really bring up the posterior chain to improve the consistency of the actual pull. And when you look at it, you don't need a whole lot of squat strength or reserve squat strength for the lifts, right? There was a Polish lifter, Szymon Kalecki, 94 kilo Olympic silver medalist, who at one time, at the age of 17, held the clean and jerk record, and which was 232. And his best front squat was, I think, 242 or 245 or something like that. So he only had 10 kilos of reserve front squat strength over his actual clean and jerk. So you're talking about an athlete who was really maximizing being efficient, with his lifts based on the strength level. But the posterior chain when it's strong enough, allows us to maintain the pull and the pull movement motor pattern consistently when it's strong enough. And that's, I think, the most important thing, because as soon as the posterior chain breaks down, it causes us to shift, and that's going to change the bar path. So,
yeah, what do you think my biggest issue is as a lifter, other than my ego lifting and squatting 40 times a week? Feel free to rip me apart, Mike. I'm all good. My hip's broken, so I'm all jacked up anyway.
No, I think that you need a little bit more quad development, because you got a strong posterior chain by way of the way you squat and the way you pull. You actually need more quad development.
So I should squat more than 16 times a week.
Yes, but it should be all front squats.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's where I went wrong. I started back squatting a lot more, and I think that's what fucked up my hip.
Yeah.
Because front squats have never really bothered me, except when I came back from California, I squatted once. I got up to, I think it was 365, and I wanted to hit it for a double. The first one pulled me so far forward that it jacked up my shoulder, and I think that's when my hip started bothering me. But I think it stemmed from the back squats.
Yeah.
I was back squatting as many times as I was front squatting, which is not what I like to do.
Yeah.
I don't like to back squat, especially since I tilt way forward, and I just can't keep my back upright to fix it.
Yeah, well, and I think that from a strength development standpoint, the back squat is a really effective movement for doing that. But once you have that strength level, it's about really making sure that the areas that we're weak in, we're developing. And so, for you, if I were programming for you, you might do one back squat workout in a week. If you're doing 16 in the course of a week, you might do a couple, but the front squat development is what's going to allow you to maintain position as far as receiving the bar in either the snatch or the clean. So having you get stronger in your weakness is, because your posterior is strong, as evidenced by your squats, and your forwardness in the squats is placing all that in the posterior chain, hamstrings and glutes and low back, so that you're plenty strong there, and your pulls are strong. So it's a matter of really developing the quads to catch up and balance you out as far as your movement patterns go.
I fucked up my last program. I back squatted way too much. I think that's what I wrecked it. Because the last time I was doing this, I front squatted 9 times a week and back squatted maybe twice.
Yep. That's
then-
probably about right.
And that
That's
was
probably the right
fine
ratio.
for me.
Yep.
And then when I started adding back squats into it, I fucked up.
Yep.
I fucked up, guys. It is what it is. And I even I made that video squat every day, make sure they're all front squats, fuck back squats, and here I am. So now I can't lift
You
anything.
didn't take your own advice.
I'm on do as I say, not as I do. What am I going to do?
Exactly.
So now I'm on the bench every day program. Gonna just get to 350, see what happens. Whatever. All right, so you opened up a second gym in 2009.
8.
2008.
Yep.
What was that gym called?
Praxis.
Praxis.
Praxis. Praxis.
What does that mean?
It's the Greek word for mastering or practicing something to a point that it becomes mastered.
Nice.
So you want to master the skills of the snatch and the clean and jerk, and so you are going to that's going to be your praxis. So
Nice.
yeah.
So you opened this gym. How long into opening this gym did you start coaching national level athletes?
It was probably a year. So in that first year, I was coaching a master's lifter, and she ended up winning a world championship, Masters World Championship, and then we got a couple of athletes that came in. One was a thrower, and she qualified for the American Open, and then we had another athlete also qualify for the American Open. So the Masters athlete had qualified for the American Open, and then I had 2 other athletes qualify for the American Open. So that December, we were at the American Open, and that was when I was got my national coaching certification.
What's the criteria for national level certification?
As it is right now.
Well, what it was and what it is now.
So then it was 2 national level athletes competing in a national competition, either the American Open or national championship.
Didn't matter masters or senior, right?
No, it had to be
Senior.
Senior.
So
Yeah.
masters was 4 if it was AO finals?
Well, there was no AO finals back then. It was just
Wasn't there?
No, it was just the American Open and
Oh, yeah,
national
well, that's what I mean.
championships.
American
Yeah,
Open.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so I don't think masters counted at all. So you had to have at least a minimum of 2 competing in the same competition.
Within a calendar year.
Yes.
Yeah. I think now I think if you can take 4 masters to AO finals and 2 to nationals or AO finals.
Really?
And you can get that.
Wow. I did not know they were incorporating masters into that now.
Well, AO finals, I think it has a masters setup.
Right.
Whereas nationals doesn't. You're
Right.
either a senior. This is senior nationals, so
Right.
and then they have under 25 and junior nationals, and it goes down that way. And then they added all the American Open series, which don't mean jack shit, other than we get to compete on a bigger stage than a local.
That's all
comp.
it means.
And it's money for USA Weightlifting.
That's right.
Which is actually, it's a great model.
Sure.
'Cause that's my gripe with CrossFit is that there's nowhere to go past shitty local competitions or the Open.
Right.
So at least with weightlifting or powerlifting, we have these regional competitions that we can get to. Whether or not we do well in them as far as medaling doesn't matter, because if your total goes up, it's the same 2 lifts, same 3 lifts in powerlifting. My total goes up. I had a good day. I went 5 for 6, 4 for 6, 6 for 6, whatever. I didn't bomb out. This is most important, right? So that's why I prefer weightlifting over or powerlifting over CrossFit. CrossFit just gets like competing in CrossFit, not training in it, because I do like the fitness of it. But competing, you get these local competitions. These guys, they run a competition with the workouts are either extremely ridiculous or they're too easy just to appeal to a lot of different levels. And then it's just like not fun to me. And a lot of the competitions around here are all team. I don't want to go as a team. I want to lift as an individual. I want to do my own thing. I don't want to have to worry about whether or not they're living up to my expectations or I'm living up to theirs. I want to just go work out. But the workouts are never the same. You can't really test or gauge how you did. And that's my biggest gripe with CrossFit competitions. They're all insane. The people that could do them are really athletic and they're great. I'm not taking it away from them, but that's my problem with competing in the open and with local competitions.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the great things about weightlifting or powerlifting, for that matter, is you've got measurable progress, right? You know, in the course of a training cycle where you're at. You can hit PRs in the course of the training cycle. Ideally, at the end of that cycle, when you compete in a meet, you're potentially have the chance to PR again, right? Or at least you're going to get feedback on how that training cycle went, right? So if the competition doesn't go well, okay, we gotta do something different.
Yeah.
Measurable progress is really important because it allows you to adjust. And I think that CrossFit, there really isn't measurable progress. Yeah, you can measure yourself against whatever some of the big events are. And test yourself, right? If you improve your time in a particular event, the MRF or whatever it is, then you can say that you're improving. But as a whole, it's just not often enough to be able to really monitor how you're doing and what adjustments you might want to make in order to continue to make progress. And that's, especially for young athletes, and this is another selling point, that when you're making progress, which inevitably you will as you develop the skills as well as increase strength, your athletes are going to become more confident. And then if you get them into for the sake of sports performance, if they're training for another sport, if you can get them on a platform and compete, they will now develop that confidence of being out there by themselves and testing their mettle against something that's a challenge for them and overcoming a fear. They're going to become more confident. And that, again, will translate to the field or the court or whatever sport they're performing in.
That's what I like about all these strength sports with CrossFit, weightlifting, or powerlifting is that it's basically a forever sport. You can always compete in powerlifting, weightlifting, even CrossFit with the masters level. With football, you got X amount of years in that sport before it's like, listen, this ain't we're going to work out anymore. But you're always going to be in the weight room. You're always going to have to keep your strength up in order to do that sport. So now, after you're done with baseball, football, basketball, whatever, at least you still have something that you can be competitive at. And that's what I kind of like about CrossFit and weightlifting within the gym, weightlifting and powerlifting for even more competition. So did you ever use any CrossFit style workouts for your athletes, or was it straight weightlifting with bodybuilding accessories?
No, I've always separated the two. And so in other words, if I'm working with an athlete for sports performance, you did your strength, which would be the lifts and whatever assistance work you were doing, and then the conditioning would be separate. So, and that's one of the things that I kind of disagree with CrossFit about, is that it's really difficult to train for both. And as a result, I think you don't get the benefit of really taking advantage of whatever the focus is. When you're training on strength, you're going to get maximum efficiency from the training when you focus on strength. When you're focusing on conditioning, you're going to get maximum efficiency from the training that you're working on with the conditioning versus trying to combine the two. And so I've always believed that it's better to separate the two and approach it from that individual approach. What are we training for that particular session or workout? And then what are we training for a particular day? And I think you get more out of both when you do it that way.
I see what you're saying. I disagree in a sense. So I think that you can not necessarily train your conditioning at the same time you're training your strength. I believe that. But I think you need some sort of conditioning, whether it be once or twice a week, in order to enhance your athleticism and build the strength. Also, I believe that focusing on strength over conditioning is more important.
Agreed.
So being more efficient with weightlifting is only going to enhance your CrossFit or your conditioning. Being more efficient and stronger in powerlifting is only going to enhance that conditioning. So for me, I don't put CrossFit as a priority. My priority is to build strength and be a competitive weightlifter. So I will throw in CrossFit once or twice a week, more so now because I can't squat, or I can't squat the way I want to. So for me, it's more about maximizing my time in the gym. And since I'm here 12 hours a day, I have the time to recover even from light CrossFit workouts. I don't like killing myself in CrossFit. I don't like heavy workouts. If I do it, it's like that's pretty much all I'm doing for the day. I don't like I like a pace maintenance workout where I can build my conditioning and build my athleticism, but not necessarily kill myself. I do not like going 100% balls to the wall in CrossFit. It just drains the shit out of me, and then I'm basically useless for the rest of the day, and I don't want to play. But there are certain workouts where after the workout, I kind of feel a lot better. My leg doesn't hurt, my hip feels better, and then I'll go squat, and it'll feel great. And it's just about building that volume because I'm very lazy. I don't like doing accessory work. I don't like doing all the lunges and stuff. So CrossFit gives me that excuse to, one, work out with a couple people and be miserable for 10, 15 minutes and get all of my accessory work done in a very quick time frame. So that's the way I kind of look at it. It's not necessarily that I think they should be separated and you can only do one at a time. I think you can prioritize strength and competitiveness and still have to condition. Like, even if you're doing football or training for sports performance, you have to condition for that athlete. You can't just start running because it's summertime. That's it. We don't need the weight room anymore. You need both.
Right. No, I agree. And but that said, I will tell you this, that anecdotally, CrossFitters who would come to me and say they want to start lifting full time because that's what they liked most about CrossFit.
100% that's true. I've been there. Still kind of there.
Were stunned at the conditioning that the weightlifters had in the course of a workout compared to their conditioning, which you would think would be better as a result of coming from that CrossFit background.
Totally different beats. So CrossFit conditioning versus weightlifting conditioning, totally different. So if you're doing a workout where it's 30 snatches for time, you're disregarding form in most of the lifts. Like, I'm not going after 30 perfect snatches, whereas that's what I would be doing for weightlifting. So it's in weightlifting, you get one shot. In CrossFit, you have unlimited time to finish this workout, or like 8 minutes to finish this workout. So the strategy and the technique differ with CrossFit versus weightlifting, unless you're going for 1 rep max in CrossFit. Then it's a little bit more similar.
Right. But I'm just saying that when a CrossFitter comes in and does a weightlifting workout, they're stunned at how hard it is. And
that's because it's totally different.
They are because you would think that they come from an ability by way of CrossFit training that they would be conditioned to be able to handle it, and they just can't handle the volume and the workload that a weightlifting workout creates.
And conversely, weightlifters can't handle the workload of a conditioning workout in CrossFit.
That's probably true too.
Have you seen Mo work out? It's the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't understand how he's so jacked. Dude sucks at fitness. Shots fired, Mo. Shots fired.
There you go. It's out there now.
So what are your favorite accessories for weightlifting?
Going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm a big proponent of good mornings and RDLs to really train the posterior chain. And I always incorporate that earlier in the workout than any squat work we do. Squat work is usually last or maybe right before presses. But you want to get to the posterior chain work while you still are somewhat fresh after doing your lifts. So that's the next thing in the list as far as the sessions go is you hit the posterior chain. Good morning squats, I also think, are very valuable in that you can work the posterior chain at a higher intensity by way of doing the lowering of the bar in the good morning. And then you can work on the squat speed and explosiveness by standing up really strong with the squat portion of the movement.
I believe I call those Kang Squats.
And
That's what I've heard them called.
Kang?
That's what I've heard them called.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah, Kang or King. Pretty sure that's what I've heard them called.
Okay.
Yeah, but same idea. You good morning, squat, stand up.
Right.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about that is you can also use some pretty challenging weights, but still allow the quads to recover from overuse if necessary. If they're in that position where you've kind of overworked them a little bit. So it's a way to still challenge yourself from a strength standpoint, but give the quads a break.
Yeah, I dig that. I also like deficit snatch deadlifts.
Yep.
I make them do that once in a while, 20 reps, as heavy as we can go.
20 reps.
Mm-hmm. Wow. But just to the top of the knee.
Gotcha.
So you basically just all quads.
Yep.
At that point. And then deficit RDLs snatch grip. I like those too. Like a 4-inch box.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm basically stuck with RDLs and good mornings and reverse hypers for the next 6 weeks until my hip comes back to life.
You'll get back.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I've had this before. It's fine. Whatever. It's my
Front
back
squats.
squats.
It's all about
Yeah.
front squats.
I know. I fucked up. All right, Coach Mike. How do you think we can improve the barbell club here at Marble Weightlifting?
I think that we've got a great nucleus, and I think that having more space would be really nice.
Working on it.
And then I prefer squat stands to power racks, just from an efficiency standpoint, as well as they end up taking up more space.
See, I had the squat racks first. I think you saw that. You were here for that.
Yeah.
And I got the power racks to actually save space, because taking the racks often on the platform were actually more in the way because of the limited space I actually do have.
Really?
So me putting that allowed me to have 6 squat racks over there as opposed to 4.
Okay.
So it got me more space than I would have had with just the squat stands.
Interesting.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I have a bunch of junk in the corner. You've seen it. It's not the most ideal setup. It's just the best I could do with what I got right now.
Right.
I'm trying.
No, I know.
That place has changed 5 times since we opened. I think I changed the structure of the barbell club every year.
Yeah, no, it's funny. You look at the pictures, and
Yeah.
it's it seems like it's an annual.
We used to have only 3 platforms. Now we have 6.
So that means growth.
So-
That means moving in the right direction.
And there's big holes in the floor all over there.
Yeah, well,
I'm
that's
working on that too.
That's inevitable.
Yeah, which is weird because CrossFit side I have no holes. We drop weight all the time.
Eric doesn't do CrossFit anymore.
It's fair. It's fair.
So.
Shots fired at Eric. All right, so we'll work on those things, and we'll try to improve our life here at Marble Weightlifting and keep pushing for those bigger competitions. We'll try to get me a national cert because, you did it in a year. Jim Rudder did it in a year. Ernie's over there. He did it in a year, and I'm over here 5 years in. And I'm finally going to nationals now.
You should have your national cert by now.
Well, I keep trying. I can't get anybody to.
It's not like you don't have the athletes that are capable of
not qualifying.
at this point. Well, I mean, no. But
Sam is probably the closest.
And that's it?
Eric has to lift what I lift, and he hasn't done that yet.
Okay.
Justin would have been close, but, Justin goes through injuries and phases of whether or not he wants to lift weights at all. And then everybody else, we're still building up. They all want to enjoy the summer here at this Jersey Shore. So, hey, listen, I can only work with you if you come in. I can't really do anything if you don't come in.
That's it. I mean, you have to be in here to get it done. And if they want to be out doing other things, then maybe we need some new blood.
All right. Well, we got a bunch of guys in the back there. You know, Ernie brought his crew, so we're going to nationals this month. And by the time you hear this, we've already have been there. So. All right, what advice you got for new lifters, old lifters, and everybody in between?
Take the time to work on the skills. I know it's boring, but the more efficient the movement patterns are, the more weight you'll be able to lift in the long run. So work on the skills with weights that you can handle and be consistent with, and the strength is the easy part. I know you might not believe it, but it's the easy part when it comes to overall development.
All right, Coach Mike, thanks for being here today. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
All right. Remember, age is inevitable. Weakness is not, so get out there and lift some shit and go build your strength, goddammit. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching today's MarbleCast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any content. Check out our Spreadshirt shop to grab some swag, and if you would like to support the MarbleCast, please head over to anchor.fm. All of the links are in the description, and it helps us out to keep the channel running. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.